God is the love in which I forgive. 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 Well, thank you all so much for joining me and studying Lesson 46 in A Course in Miracles Workbook for Students from the original edition here on March the 15th of 2023. God is the love in which I forgive. God does not forgive because He has never condemned. And there must be condemnation before forgiveness is necessary. Forgiveness is the great need of this world, but that is because it is a world of illusions. Those who forgive are thus releasing themselves from illusions, while those who withhold forgiveness are binding themselves to them. You're binding yourself to illusions if you're unforgiving. As you condemn only yourself, so do you forgive only yourself. See yourself in everyone. Although God does not forgive, His love is nevertheless the basis of forgiveness. Fear condemns and love forgives. Forgiveness thus undoes what fear has produced, returning the mind to the awareness of God. For this reason, forgiveness can truly be called salvation. It is the means by which illusions disappear. Today's exercises require at least 3 full 5-minute practice periods and as many shorter applications as possible. Begin the longer practice periods by repeating today's idea to yourself as usual. Close your eyes as you do so and spend a minute or two in searching your mind for those whom you have not forgiven. It does not matter how much you have not forgiven. You have forgiven them entirely or not at all. No gray area in between, is there? If you're doing the exercises well, you should have no difficulty in finding a number of people you have not forgiven. If you're doing the exercises well, you should have no difficulty in finding a number of people you have not forgiven. It is a safe rule that anyone you do not like is a suitable subject. Mention each one by name and say, God is the love in which I forgive you, and then name the person. And he says that if you just don't like them, or if you just don't even like something they do, he doesn't say it that way, but I'm suggesting that it's hard to separate the doer from the deed. So if there's something that someone's done that you didn't like, use your forgiveness and say, God is the love in which I forgive you, and name the person or the thing that was done. And realize that it's an illusion and that you're one with God and that God's love is the power of your own forgiveness. God is the love in which I forgive. The purpose of the first phase of today's practice is to put you in the best position to forgive yourself. After you have applied the idea for today to all those who have come to mind, tell yourself, God is the love in which I forgive myself. You get to be included in this list of people that you've been kind of judgmental and critical to. Quit being judgmental and critical on yourself either. Then devote the remainder of the practice period to adding related ideas such as, God is the love with which I love myself. God is the love in which I am blessed. The form of the application may vary considerably, but the central idea should not be lost sight of. God is the love in which I forgive is the central idea. And just put it around different words in your mind. After you've gone through your meditation, you picked people and you've said, God is the love in which I forgive you, and name the person, and then go on to the next. After you've done that, you can't really think of anybody else that you're holding an ungrateful attention to, and you feel a little bit, like you want to avoid them or attack them or anything that's not an appreciation and a gladness that you're joined. Then go on to the next, and until there's no one else that you're thinking of, or until the time runs out. But do the best you can for 5 minutes 3 times today. The form of the application may vary considerably, but the central idea should not be lost sight of. You might say, for example, and he gives about 4 more examples that are, God is the love in which I forgive, kind of spawned these thoughts. I cannot be guilty because I am a son of God, or I have already been forgiven, or no fear is possible in a mind beloved of God, or there is no need to attack because love has forgiven me. The practice period should end, however, with a repetition of today's idea as originally stated. The shorter applications may consist either of repetition of the idea for today in the original or in a related form as you prefer. Be sure, however, to make more specific applications if they are needed. They will be needed at any time during the day when you become aware of any kind of negative reaction to anyone, present or not. In this event, tell him silently, God is the love in which I forgive you. Isn't that beautiful? God is the love in which I forgive. Okay, well, we'll come back and maybe sing that song, and just make sure we want to spend 3 times for 5 minutes, and then throughout the day just tell yourself, God is the love in which I forgive, and just name different people or situations that kind of are trying to you that you don't like, and apply it to those situations and people. God is the love in which I forgive, until you see the appreciation of being one with everything and loving everyone with complete joy and thankfulness. That's the goal. God is the love in which I forgive. Okay, let's go take a look in our text reading, and we're ready for we're in the message of the Crucifixion, chapter 6, Attack and Fear, and we're ready for section 2, the message of the Crucifixion. And let's start in paragraph 6. And we learned yesterday that irrational thoughts produce irrational results, and it says that irrational attack. How do I write this? Attack of anyone involves 3 things: that you can be attacked, that your attack was justified, and that you're not responsible for other people. And he says those are insane premises. So you're going to come up with the idea that you're going to want to become angry and attack, and that's going to further make you want to attack or defend yourself or be afraid. It spawns fear. You cannot be attacked, is what he wanted us to understand. Attack has no justification. You are responsible for what you believe. And then he's going to go on to talk about how that the message of the crucifixion is a beautiful example of that. So let's pick up on paragraph 6. And before you do, let me tell you about a beta vulgaris, a bright lights Swiss chard. And bright lights, I found this on Burpee. You can get those seeds started here on the 15th up until March 1st if you want to start them indoors. BonniePlants.com has a really nice, for several plants, the zone, whatever zone you're in. I'm in zone 6, so I can plant Swiss chard bright lights from February 15th to March 1st. It goes on, and you can plant it again you plant it outdoors September the 1st through the 15th for a fall crop. You can set it outdoors March 15th to April the 1st. So it's a little cold hardy, but it's the thing nice about Swiss chard is that it overcomes it. Even though you grow it like a cool winter green and it does good in the cool, it also withstands the heat and can be grown and grows quite well in hot part of the year, which a lot of your plants have difficulty in that respect. I found this on seedsandsuch.com. Swiss chard. It says bright lights. An ounce contains 1,800 seeds, 55 days to maturity. The 1998 AAS Winner is a rainbow of bright, vibrant colors with stems of gold, pink, orange, purple, red, and white. Leaves are green or bronze, slightly savored, with mild sweet flavor. Use it fresh as an addition to salads or cook it for a mild charred flavor. Plants grow to 20 inches and they'll be ready in 55 to 60 days. That's pretty cool, huh? So Swiss chard. Anyway, is there anything else? A dark leafy green. Dark lean leafy, dark leafy green, dark green leafy, dark leafy green, or with multicolored stems. Harvest when leaves are young and tender. Can be planted in spring and fall. Can be grown in containers. Plant ½ inch deep. Space plants 8 inches apart. Ready to harvest in about 60 days. And that's actually on a little seed packet I picked up right here in my local Joplin Greenhouse. Great place to get seeds and just different stuff. I like the way they do things there. But this is a Swiss chard bright lights I got from them, and they said that on their little package. Okay, let's take a look in paragraph 6. You've reacted for years as if you were being crucified. This is a marked tendency of the separated ones, who always refuse to consider what they have done to themselves. Projection means anger. Anger fosters assault, and assault promotes fear. Okay, and the way I made a little more sense to me is projection means anger. I just put down blame. Projection is to blame someone, is how I think of that. There's maybe a fine nuance in the word projection, and I'm not really wanting to suggest that you change what Jesus said, but I'm trying to make it mean more something a little deeper. It might have escaped my notice until I put it this way. Blame means you are angry. Anger promotes attack, and attack makes one fearful. Knowing what one does to anyone is done to oneself. There's a part of you that knows that what you send out, you're going to get back. And what you send out, if you send out, you're going to attack someone, you're going to be afraid because it's a two-edged sword. Whatever you send out can come back to you. So and also just the whole idea that you're attacking someone, that's not part of the kingdom of heaven mentality. We want to love everyone. Projection means anger. Anger fosters assault, and assault promotes fear. The real meaning of the crucifixion lies in the apparent intensity of the assault of some of the sons of God upon another. This, of course, is impossible and must be fully understood as an impossibility, that a bunch of people ganged up on one son of God. That Jesus said, I wasn't betrayed, that I can't be. And that's what he's trying to get us to see, that love is real regardless of appearances, regardless of fear and all the ideas that come from illusions. The illusion of separation, that those things are not real. That's why the resurrection is real. This, of course, is impossible and must be fully understood as an impossibility. Let me read it again. Projection means anger. Anger fosters assault, and assault promotes fear. The real meaning of the crucifixion lies in the apparent intensity of the assault of some of the sons of God upon another. This, of course, is impossible and must be fully understood as an impossibility. In fact, unless it is fully understood as only that, I cannot serve as a real model for learning. Okay, now did you catch that? That's a very important idea. This, of course, is impossible, that the real meaning of the crucifixion lies in the apparent, it's an appearance, intensity of the assault of some of the sons of God upon another. This, of course, is impossible and must be fully understood as an impossibility. In fact, unless it is fully understood as only that, I cannot serve as a real model for learning. Wow, so this may be the most important paragraph, this one and maybe the next one, for many people, might be a good place to start in the understanding of A Course in Miracles. Because if they're willing to look at this and think about it calmly and actually be honest with the way that Jesus is trying to explain the logic and the truth of this, well then it might be a great place to say, okay, I'm willing to look at A Course in Miracles then. Other people might say, well, no, I'm just not really ready for that. So I would say this is a great introductory paragraph for people that you're wanting to say, you might actually love this. Why don't you think about this? Or, anyway, I'm not suggesting you get in arguments with people, but this is a really There's a lot of invested energy in this idea in many people's minds, okay? Assault can ultimately, this is paragraph 7, assault can ultimately be made only on the body. There is little doubt that one body can assault another and even destroy it. Yet if destruction itself is impossible, then anything that is destructible cannot be real. Therefore, its destruction does not justify anger. Isn't that something? Keep that in mind. To the extent to which you believe that it does, that the destruction justifies anger, you must be accepting false premises and teaching them to others. The message which the crucifixion was intended to teach was that it is not necessary to perceive any form of assault in persecution, because you cannot be persecuted. God's got us. Joy's always our inheritance. That's our reality. If you respond with anger, you must be equating yourself with the destructible and are therefore regarding yourself insanely. Oh my. Paragraph 8. I have made it perfectly clear that I am like you and you are like me, but our fundamental equality can be demonstrated only through joint decision. You are free to perceive yourselves as persecuted if you choose. You might remember, however, when you do choose to react that way, that I was persecuted as the world judges and did not share this evaluation for myself. And because I did not share it, I did not strengthen it. I therefore offered a different interpretation of attack, and one which I do want to share with you. If you will believe it, you will help me teach it. Help me to teach it. 9. We have said before, as you teach, so shall you learn. If you react as if you are persecuted, you are teaching persecution. This is not a lesson which the sons of God should want to teach if they are to realize their own salvation. Rather, teach your own perfect immunity, which is the truth in you, and know that it cannot be assailed. Do not protect it yourselves, or you have believed that it is assailable. Do not protect it yourselves, or you have believed that it is assailable. You are not asked to be crucified, which was part of my own teaching contribution. You are merely asked to follow my example in the face of much less extreme temptations, to misperceive and to accept them falsely as justifications for anger. Wow, he's trying to get us to see. We just don't need to see that anyone's doing anything to weaken us. We can see him, that we're connected in love forever, and we can do our lesson today. God is the love in which I forgive. There can be no justification for the unjustifiable. Do not believe there is. This is paragraph 10, by the way. There can be no justification for the unjustifiable. Do not believe there is, and do not teach that there is. Remember always that what you believe, you will teach. Believe with me, and we will become equal as teachers. Your resurrection is your reawakening. I am the model for rebirth, but rebirth itself is merely the dawning on your minds of what is already in them. God placed it there himself, and so it is true forever. I believed in it and therefore made it forever true for me. Jesus made it true while he was walking this world. Made it forever true, because it's always true. It's whether or not you're going to make it true in this time frame. Help make it true now. Help me to teach it to our brothers in the name of the kingdom of God, but first believe that it is true for you, and you will teach them, or you will teach amiss. My brothers slept during the so-called agony in the garden, but I could not be angry with them because I had learned I could not be abandoned. That was out of, you can find that in Luke 22, 39 through 46. Peter swore he would deny me, but he did so 3 times. Peter swore he would never deny me, but he did so 3 times. Find that in Matthew 26, 31 through 35. That story. He did offer to defend me with the sword, which I naturally refused. not being at all in need of bodily protection. Remember, he cut off Caiaphas, the high priest's servant's ear, and it says in the story that Jesus put it back on. But he said, I don't want you to use the sword. Those who live by the sword die by the sword. That's not the kingdom of heaven. Matthew 26:52 is where you can read that story. I am sorry when my brothers do not share my decision to hear only one voice, because it weakens them as teachers and as learners. Yet I know that they cannot really betray themselves or me, and that it is still on them that I must build my church. And he's making reference of building the church on us, starting with Peter. And he's told that in Matthew, what is that? Matthew 16, verse 18, paragraph 12. There is no choice in this, because only you can be the foundation of God's church. A church is where an altar is, and the presence of the altar is what makes it a church. Any church which does not inspire love has a hidden altar, which is not serving the purpose for which God intended it. I must found his church on you, because you who accept me as a model are literally my disciples. Disciples are followers. But if the model they follow has chosen to save them pain in all respects, they're probably unwise not to follow him. I elected both for your sake and mine to demonstrate that the most outrageous assault as judged by the ego did not matter, the crucifixion. As the world judges these things, but not as God knows them, I was betrayed, abandoned, beaten, torn, and finally killed. It was perfectly clear that this was only because of the projection of others, because I had not harmed anyone and I had healed many. We are all equal as learners, even though we need not have equal experiences. The Holy Spirit is glad when you can learn enough from his experiences, Jesus's, to be reawakened by them, those experiences. That was their only purpose, and that is the only way in which I can be perceived as the way and the truth and the way, the truth, and the light. And that's a quote out of John 14:6. You know, I wanted to try to get a little further, but I'm thinking we might ought to just stop right there. Let's pick up there tomorrow. Let me mark that. So tomorrow we'll pick up on paragraph 14. Okay, and I think you all pretty much know what you're going to do in your lesson today. Let's look at it. God is the love in which I forgive. God is the love in which I forgive. And give me just a minute. I really like to listen to the song just real quietly, so I make sure that I'm actually just the first measure or so, just so I make sure I'm giving you the right song. And so give me just a minute here to and let me set this up. God is the love in which I forgive. God is the love in which I forgive. Okay. God is the love in which I... Here, I got the wrong page. Sorry about that. I reached down to look at my words and I thought, oh, I got the wrong page opened up here. Sorry about that. God is the love in which I forgive. 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 And then take a few minutes and just think about people that you might not like and say that's a suitable subject, because we want to love everyone. God is the love in which I forgive. God is the love in which I forgive. Name that person. God is the love in which I forgive you. God is the love God is the love in which I forgive you. And then after you've named a few people, then you go and say, God is the love in which I forgive myself. God is the love which I forgive myself. God is the love in which I forgive. God is the love in which I forgive. And then just make up whatever kind of thoughts come to you. He gives a few examples. God is the love in which I love myself. God is the love in which I am blessed. God is the love in which I forgive. God is the love in which I forgive. I cannot be guilty because I am a son of God. I have already been forgiven. No fear is possible in a mind. No fear is possible in a mind. Beloved of God. God is the love in which I forgive. God is the love in which I forgive. There is no need to attack because love has forgiven me. Oh, God is the love in which I forgive. God is the love in which I forgive. And then take it with you through the day. And if you run into somebody that you kind of get a little upset with or a little makes you want to avoid them, say, God is the love in which I forgive. God is the love in which I forgive you. God is the love in which I forgive you. Forgive you. God is the love in which I forgive. God is the love in which I forgive. God is the love in which I forgive. And be sure to check out, yesterday when I was closing, I said the words a little different than what he actually says. You guys watch me on that. Go back and check me out. If I make a mistake, sometimes I notice the mistakes actually are okay. Other mistakes is like, I wish I hadn't said that. Okay, so make sure that as you integrate what's good for you, that it's really good for you. Okay. God is the love in which I forgive. Let's go forth forgiving everyone and feeling the joy of living in that space. The kingdom of heaven is now and it's among us. See yourself in everyone as you say, God is the love in which I forgive, and let go of illusions that are not love. God is the love in which I forgive.